Hi, it's Barry Neal here. If you've ever wanted to learn how to really transform your clients' lives and make profound changes, then I have the webinar for you. It's called Inner Child Therapy. Inner child therapy can be some of the most transformational work you can do because you can work and change people, their core beliefs that affect the way they think about themselves, the way they interact with other people and the world around them. It's some of the most powerful work you can do if you do it correctly. Now, the problem with inner child therapy is that there are methods out there, particularly script-based methods, that they're all very nice and they're nice and flowery and there's lots of hugs and cuddles and things like that. And it sounds very nice and it sounds very healing. But it doesn't really get to the core of the problem, which is the conflict that often happens between the inner child and the adult. And unless you do that, you're not going to get the healing that you expect. So in this inner child therapy webinar that I'm going to put on, we're going to look at two really powerful techniques that can really transform someone's life. It can heal things that you probably struggle with any other type of technique because you're really getting into the core of the issue. So let's just have a look, just what really is involved with inner child therapy. Why is it so powerful? Well, it really works with the core beliefs about us, that we have about ourselves, about I'm not good enough, I'm a failure, I'll never amount to anything, I'm no good, all that sort of thing. But it also works with the core beliefs that we have about others and relationships and the world around us. Often these core beliefs are formed during our early childhood when things happen. That we can form really positive, powerful beliefs that serve us if we're going through good times with good parenting and good circumstances, and they can be really useful for us in the future. But if they were going through bad times, if we're going through confusion or struggle or trauma or abuse or whatever, we can form really limiting beliefs about ourselves, which as you become an adult can be really problematic. And they quite often create massive conflicts in a person, and the person can be very self-destructive if this is going on at the unconscious level. So they're typically formed during early childhood experiences, and that could be like trauma or just upset, confusion. And the other important thing to understand is that they may or may not be true. Quite often, if we're 3, 4 or 5, 6, 7 and we make these decisions at the unconscious level, they kind of stick with us at that level. And they may have been appropriate when we were 3, 4 or 5, 6, but they may not. Quite often, the decision is made based on misunderstanding, based on confusion. But that becomes almost like this operating software that we then behave from. And then 10, 20, 30, 40 years later, we're still operating on this mistaken belief that happened all those years ago. And unless and until you change that, people are going to end up with all sorts of problems. And you can hypnotize them, or you can do therapy, you can do the best suggestions in the world. But if there's this underlying stuff, all you're doing is creating a bigger conflict. So it's really, really important to learn how to do inner child therapy correctly. And as I say, it's really important to do it well, because there are techniques out there that aren't so great, that they sound very nice, they look very flowery, but they're not correcting the inner conflict. So it's kind of like a type of parts work. And these inner child behaviours are often in direct conflict with the original intention. The original intention all those years ago may have been to protect the person, to keep them safe, whatever. And then 10, 20 years later, that inner child is still controlling what is going on at the unconscious level through this limiting belief. And what happens is that what they're doing now, the person is trying to make changes, they're trying to do something, and they end up getting really frustrated and confused and upset and turn into all sorts of things. And the intention from that part all those years ago was to protect them, was to keep them safe. But now it's actually doing the opposite thing. It's actually making them miserable. It's making them sad. And what we need to do is correct that. No script in the world is going to do that. You have to get in there and do the work. So you'll often hear it in indicators. They'll say something along the lines of, I know I shouldn't either feel or think or do X, but I can't help it. And if you get something like that, you know that you're working, or you should be working, with the inner child, because that's what's leaping out off the page. Whenever you get someone saying, I know I shouldn't be doing this, oh, I know I shouldn't feel this way, I know I shouldn't be doing this, I know I shouldn't be having these feelings, but I just can't help myself, you know you've got a conflict going on there, and it almost certainly dates back to some trauma or upset that happened in an early childhood experience. And if you learn these techniques, you'll be able to correct that. So let's look at what we're going to cover in this webinar. You're going to learn 2 really powerful healing techniques that really work to correct and to understand what was going on then, to understand what the inner child was trying to do at that time, and find out what its intention was. What its intention was. And we point out that at some level the positive intention may have been really positive, but now today the positive intention is in direct conflict with what's actually happening in the real world now. And once that inner child gets that, then and only then will it agree to let go of that behavior. Oftentimes we need to take back resources that we have now and give them to the inner child so that inner child can heal. And if we do this, we get very, very profound healing. So what I'm going to do in the webinar is we're going to teach these 2 techniques, but we're also going to unpack them. So that not only just you go through these techniques in a kind of rote manner, you know exactly why you're doing that, what's the purpose of it, so that you really learn them. I find so many people learn new technique and they don't understand what it's for. They don't understand the mechanism behind it. They just do it and they think, you know what, that works really well with this. I wonder if it will work with that. And you know what, it may not, because it's not designed for that. But we're going to unpack these 2 techniques, really look at them, find out why they work. And once you do that, you can then adapt them to your client. You can change things around a little bit, but you know what you're doing is the right thing for that particular client. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to do the 2 powerful techniques and really unpack them. We'll have time for questions and answers so that everyone gets the understanding that they need, so they can go after the session, after the webinar, and start using this with their clients. You will get a full outline of the technique. So I'll email that over to you so you've got the full outline of it, and you get, after the event, the recording of the webinar. So if there's something you didn't fully understand or something you missed, you can go back and review it time and time again. So there you go. This is a one-off webinar. I probably won't be doing this again in any hurry. I mean, a few weeks ago I did the regression one. I've got no plans of repeating that one. This is the inner child one. If you want to do it, then please sign up. There's going to be limited places like there was on the last one, because we're doing this over Zoom. I don't want to have too many people on there because it becomes too complicated if there's too many people I'm trying to communicate on the screen. So I want to keep it to limited numbers. So if this is something you really want to learn, then please sign up today before it's gone. So please do that, and hopefully I'll see you soon in the actual webinar. Until then, have a great day.